Free at last for Kyrie Irving. The mandate has been uplifted.
Sir.
My man's. To give you guys some context, I think about 99.9% of players in the NBA are vaccinated, and one of the few has to probably be Jonathan Isaac. And I think Kyrie Irving as well, too. So going into the season, he basically said, yo, fuck this. I'm not going to take the vaccine, and we just going to deal with it. Nets at first, try to put the big boy pants on. And we're like, well, if you're not going to take the vaccine, you're basically not going to be a part of this organization or this team. So you're going to get paid on the side, but you're not going to be able to show up to any games on the road because we don't want you to be a part-time player. And it is what it is. A lot of people were scrutinizing him, including us at times where we're just like, we love you so much, but it's like, what are you kind of trying to do? What are you trying to prove? You say you want to be the voice of the voiceless. All this shit is kind of going on as well too, and it's kind of crazy how the narrative just kind of flipped over these past couple of weeks as well too. Knowing that there's been different rules and regulations that have kind of been uplifted or eased as well too. So kind of moving forward from there, obviously James Harden was on the squad at one point, and damn, it kind of sucks that we never got to see these guys play together in the playoffs. But obviously with Kyrie, well, with the Nets kind of losing bodies, and basically just because I believe James Harden had a hamstring injury, so he was still kind of nursing that. It was just a lot of pressure on him and also on Kevin Durant as well too. So the Nets were like, you know what, we're gonna just shy away from what we kind of just said. Let's have you in as a part-time player. He comes in as a part-time player. They do relatively well. Well, he does relatively well, but the team is still not winning because I believe once he comes back, KD goes out. And it was just kind of up and down. There's really no continuity with the team as well too. A lot of levels of uncertainty as well. James Harden obviously leaves, and now it's Kyrie kind of doing things on his own, and then finally KD kind of comes back as well too. And they have an addition of Andre Drummond and also Seth Curry, and they pick up Goran Dragic from free agency. So they're trying to figure things out. Kyrie made a statement because at one point, which was still mind-boggling to me, he was able to be inside of the arena in Barclays in Brooklyn. He could sit courtside, but he couldn't play in between the four lines in the sport which we love so much called basketball. So I think that was very smart on his end to make that statement as well too. But it's kind of funny because the simple resolution to resolve this conflict would be to just get the needle. But at the end of the day, everyone is entitled to their own choice. Everyone should have control of their own bodies. So I feel them from that standpoint. But from a competitive standpoint, it's just like the more mileage these top tier players like a Harden at one point, like a KD have on their body, that's going to be cause for injuries. And you can kind of blame to you as well, too, because who knows? KD may have not been hurt. If you were full time, that sequence probably wouldn't have happened. Maybe Harden would still be on this team right now. We really don't know. But the New York Mayor, Eric Adams, I think this past Thursday, reversed the city's private sector vaccine mandate specifically for performance and athletes in local venues. Now, we all knew this was kind of politics, right? And I didn't realize, but now I do realize that baseball is very popular. And, who we have, the Mets and the Yankees, I believe, in New York.
I
So
think
I,
so,
I
yeah.
think I think they had a word with Eric Adams and threw him some money on the side, and he was like, you know what, all right, on some House of Cards shit. So it's kind of funny how when the NBA tried to do something, they said no, but when the big boys get involved, they're like, oh, all right, we'll do it under the table agreement or whatnot as well too. But it sucks that he was only able to play 20 games. It sucks that they're in the play-in right now, but I think this is going to serve the Nets well because now, patience is a virtue, right? So we knew this was going to happen. We just didn't know when it was going to happen. To be real with you, I mean, if you would have told me Monday this is going to happen this season, I would have been like, nah, like KD just going to be on his own. And it kind of works in their favor because they're going to be on the road every series. So they at least have 4 games on the road. So Kyrie should be good for that. But there is definitely a sense of relief. There's no more quote unquote drama about Is he going to play? Should KD be mad? Is KD going to demand a trade? Is Nash on the hot seat? X, Y, and Z. So all that's kind of out the door. Now they can just focus on basketball in between the lines. So I really love that as well too. And for those of you guys who don't know, Kyrie only played 20 games. He averaged 29.6.5 assists, 5 rebounds, shooting almost 50% from the field, 44% from the three-point line, and 91% from the free throw line as well too. But what are your thoughts on the mandate being uplifted, and what does this mean for the Brooklyn Nets to you moving forward?
First of all, I think it's something else going on behind the scenes. Like, for them to just hold out till we get to the last part of the season
on his birthday too, that's kind of weird.
I didn't even know it happened on his birthday. That's even more suspicious. I think there's definitely something going on with that. Like, they could have updated the mandate if they were going to do it at this point. But for the Nets themselves, this is just great. As long as he doesn't get injured, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's still an injury-prone player. And they don't have Ben Simmons. They have a lot of guards in that rotation. Not a lot of defensive guards. I don't know what Brown counts as, but it's going to be great for them. It's going to be great because outside of if they were to play Toronto in the play-in, which, I mean, they could probably still beat them without Kyrie, as long as KD plays. They could easily beat anybody else well, I don't know if they could beat the Bucks. I don't know if they can beat the Celtics in 7 games. But yeah, they could definitely make a run to the finals this season now that Kyrie is fully healthy and actually playing. It could be scary hours. We're going to have to see what Ben Simmons is doing. But other than that, yeah, it could be scary hours.
Yeah, I mean, those two scoring gods alone in the playoffs are going to give you, and we're saying in the playoffs, like, there could be a possibility where they don't make the playoffs. Like, there could be some shit that happens. Like we said with we don't really know what's going to happen with the Cavs and Toronto with seeding, right? So like you said earlier, if they go into Toronto for that first game because 7 play the 8 seed, then Kyrie can't play. Obviously, he would be eligible for the home game, but one game is kind of scary. We saw what Trae Young was doing to New York. He gonna be back in New York, so we really don't know what to expect. The whistle could go one way, a player could get hurt. Knock on wood. There could be a run where when you rest a player. Like, so many things can kind of happen, but they're too great not to make it. They're not in a situation like the Los Angeles Lakers, I feel like, as well too. So them two alone, I mean, from the play-in moving forward to the playoffs, hypothetically speaking, that's a minimum of 60 plus points that they're going to give you just between those two alone. Last year the Big Three obliterated the Celtics. And the thing that was kind of constant with them last year was their defense. Their defense was still trash, but they were like, if we can outscore you and get Tommy stops when it matters most, we'll take our chances. And they proved that last year. Then in the second round when they played the Bucks, people forget, like, they were smacking the Bucks. I think almost by 30 to 50 points at one time, and then Kyrie kind of goes down as well too. And then obviously James Harden tweaked this hamstring. He didn't come back until the last 2 games of the Eastern Conference semifinals, and he was on one leg. So if Kevin Durant, if he wears a shoe size that's slightly smaller, then the narrative has changed, because I believe KD, with that squad that he had last year, beats the Atlanta Hawks, and I believe it's house money if you kind of go to the finals as well too. So with these two, I think it's going to be great. Obviously, injuries are always something to kind of read into, but Kyrie should be the most freshest, the healthiest he's ever been in the league, in the last couple of years. Obviously, he's getting up there with age, but he's only played 20 out of 82 games. So I think he's going to be healthy. I think that's going to serve them well. But it's going to come down to, executing from a coaching standpoint, kind of figuring out the rotations. Obviously, Ben Simmons, in which we're going to talk about a little bit later, is still a huge what if. And Steve Nash isn't necessarily the best coach. So we're going to see what he does with the rotations. And I don't know what to expect out of Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin was pretty solid last year. I don't know why he's not playing. I don't know if it's kind of like the Coach Pop treatment where they're saving him for these high leverage moments because he's a professional, because he's a veteran. He knows what it takes to win. And then LaMarcus Aldridge as well too. I mean, he obviously isn't the best he isn't at his peak defensively, but he's still someone who on a good day can give you 15 plus points off the bench. And right now he's currently battling a hip injury right now as well too. And then obviously Seth Curry, ankle injury day to day. So a lot of things have to kind of come together, but I feel like those two alone can definitely win you a series, and their ceiling can definitely beat the finals. I'm just a little curious if Ben Simmons is not going to be there, and we kind of saw this when they played Memphis the other day as well too. Steve Nash is going to have to stagger their minutes. So when I say that, one of them are going to have to be on the court at all times as well. So obviously when they're on the court together, you really can't double team, especially if Seth Curry's in the mix, because you have the floor spaced. And then you have a quick little, dive action with Andre Drummond as well too. But for the minutes where they're not on the floor together, that's when I started to see teams kind of really double teaming KD, double teaming Kyrie, and forcing everyone else to beat them as well too. So I'm curious to see how that's going to kind of work. But I was saying, just based off of the history I saw last year, they can definitely go very, very far as well too. So I'm excited to see that first game when Kyrie comes back to Brooklyn. I know the energy is going to be unmatched. I think they play Sunday against Charlotte, so that's going to be exciting. I don't know if it's going to be nationally televised or not, but I'll definitely try to watch that or try to squeeze in while these NCAA games are on. But they play you guys today, I think. And then I think tomorrow is their first home game. So back to back for them is going to be pretty interesting as well too.